What about fertility law and voting rights? We had Suraj on last week. He talked about what's happening in the South. How can these things all be connected? We're going to talk about it today with our guest, and we're looking forward to it. I'm Mallory Hagan.
And I'm Maggie Gelson Burnett. This is Pretty Furious. It's good to be back. I feel like it's been a couple of weeks. I was out last week while you talked to the lovely Suraj again about voting rights. So great episode.
Thanks. We held it down.
Yes, glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Glad you're back. How are we feeling? Third try, almost there.
Third try, 32 weeks. We are cooking, Mallory. We are almost there. Yeah, my pelvic floor therapist said to me yesterday, she goes, pregnancy really agrees with you and your body. And I was like,
Excuse me?
Are you on drugs?
I mean,
smoke a pipe before I
like
came in
from an
here?
optics perspective, it does. You look beautiful. You're glowing.
You're very kind.
Your baby bump looks gorge.
You're very kind. But she said that, and I was like, someone commented on that on Instagram and was like, this would have sent me into an orbit. I'm like, fully. Yeah, I just levitated out of the office. But speaking of women's rights, pregnancy, fertility, all the things, we have AshLeigh Dunham joining us today. I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. We've gotten to know AshLeigh a little bit behind the scenes, and really, it's just so wonderful to see people like her step into running for office. I think, when I ran for office both times, I was still single, still childless. It's really hard. And then you add in, she's a fertility lawyer. She's got a little girl. She's got a family. So there's a lot going on. But it's going to be really good to chat with her. But before we do that, we want to make sure everybody's following us at Pretty Furious Pod. Before we do that, I want to make sure you're following us. We're at Pretty Furious Pod everywhere you can find us. Make sure that you are doing so, and specifically on Substack. And then, of course, make sure you're following the Siren. That's where our podcast is hosted. We have a deep dive coming out soon. We're going to be talking about those scientists that are missing.
It is spooky, folks.
Spooky.
And might I just say, if you need any guilt tripping into getting a monthly subscription, Mallory is 7 months postpartum, and I'm about to have a baby. So support us with your subscription.
Yes, please. And every week we come to this like, oh my God. So make sure you're following, make sure you've subscribed. All of that would be really wonderful. And of course, you can't be Pretty Furious without being pretty first. We do keep our product recs in the show notes. Make sure you check those out. Okay, Maggie, what headline made you pretty furious this week? All of them.
Okay, yeah. So this one is not from like a specific location, although I do think that the Washington Post was like the biggest outlet to pick this up. Women are refusing the vitamin K shot right after they give birth. And
which is just diabolical.
It's crazy, girl. It is. I also think the New York Times reported on this now that I think about it, but it's an alarming number of women are refusing the vitamin K shot for their newborns. The vitamin K shot helps to prevent brain bleeds in newborns. It is has been a standard practice in neonatal medicine for a very long time. And now we have a lot of like the Maha mommies of the world who are declining it. And I would say most notably, I think, and I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that one Danny Austin, our favorite influencer, declined the vitamin K shot, which is fucking cray bananas.
Yeah, so, I think you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, not as a headline, but as something else. And
it was on our pregnancy postpartum episode, our deep dive.
Right.
Yeah. And I found that so crazy because this is a person with like millions and millions of followers who constantly is like sort of chiming in about women's rights because she like owns a company herself, and she's like, I love women, blah blah blah, and then like just pull shit like this where she gives insane
horrible
misinformation
advice.
To people, and to people who are incredibly like naive, I think, to it, which is unfortunate. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's making me pretty furious. I'm gonna be loading this baby up with some vitamin K.
Absolutely.
Love the vitamin K.
There was a post. Oh my gosh,
Was
Pepper.
that Pepper?
That was Pepper.
The
Look at
little
her. Look at Pepper snoring.
She is just
um
vibing.
She is asleep. So the vitamin K shot headline, I commented, I think it was like, I don't know what news outlet, but I commented on Instagram and I was like, anybody who refuses this for their baby and something happens to their baby, they should be put in jail. I said what I said. And the amount of people coming in the comments like, you're so stupid. You should do research. And I'm like, I don't need to do research because the scientists did the research.
Have done it for me.
They did it. That's literally their fucking job.
Shannon,
What do you mean?
Shannon from my angel icon from Shannon Says So, she posted a video this week that I loved where it was like, the people who say, quote, doing your own research, what they really mean is looking online for somebody who agrees with them.
Yeah.
And
some cuckoo whackbird doctor that's like, yeah, don't do it.
And I'm
That's
like,
so
that is
stupid.
exactly, that is exactly it.
Unless
What is
you have a
your-
PhD, you're not doing your own research. You're Googling and
Exactly.
listening to whatever pops up on AI. Anyway,
Yeah,
my
exactly.
headline is is Trump sold Trump gold-plated phones, I guess, to his followers.
God damn it, man.
This has all been coming to light. There are several articles about it, but it's finally going to ship this week. And why? Because the articles started coming out about Trump conning his
Because
cult.
he's a con man.
He's a con man. Yeah. So Donald Trump, they and his sons, they were selling Trump phones. So their phones are $4.99, right? Made in America, et cetera, et cetera. But you had to put down a $100 deposit to get the phone. And so it was like, I can't remember the number, and it's not reported in this article that I'm looking at, but it was astronomical. The amount, it was like 500,000 people or something gave $100 deposit for this phone. Yes, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. As Trump would say, money.
Money.
So these people paid this $100 deposit expecting to get this phone, and it never comes. And then they like changed the language on the website and in the contract, and like, I don't know. Anyway, all that to say, I guess now these people that are stupid enough to give them $100 for their deposit are going to get their gold-plated phones. And I guess that doesn't make me pretty furious. I'm just like, I just don't, I'm never going to understand how people are so stupid.
I'm so sorry. Hang on. So, like, I want to know more about this phone. So, like, I want to know what it looks like. I want to know what the apps are that, like, are already installed. Like, you know, you have your Apple pre-installed apps. What are the Trump phone pre-installed apps? Is this through, like, a wireless carrier? Like, does he have his own? Is it, like, Trump network? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
It is... God, Pepper is really snoring. Sorry, guys. It's looking like it's just a gold-plated version of an iPhone, if
it's
I'm being
a gold
honest.
iPhone. Okay, got it.
But yeah, I guess
Holy
go
fuck.
off, King.
Holy shit.
And this is also apparently its third design. And they're currently selling refurbished Apple and Samsung phones as well on the Trump mobile website,
Cool.
I guess. Yeah. So yeah, you know, just refusing vitamin K, gold Trump phones. America's more stupid by the day. They're so embarrassing.
Idiots. It
you
is
know,
so fucking embarrassing to live here.
You know who's not an idiot?
Not embarrassing.
Not embarrassing.
Or an idiot.
Yeah. She's actually incredibly intelligent.
She is. She's so smart. I love listening to her speak. We have AshLeigh Dunham, who is joining us today. So AshLeigh is a Huntsville native. She earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Alabama. This is my obligatory Roll Tide. And her law degree from Cumberland School of Law at Samford University. AshLeigh is a distinguished legal professional with a career rooted in service to Alabama families. She serves as a referee in Jefferson County's Juvenile Court, where she adjudicates sensitive family and juvenile matters with fairness, clarity, and compassion. Her work creates stability for children and families facing crisis, drawing on years of experience handling complex legal issues with a steady, principled approach. AshLeigh is also a practicing fertility attorney at Magic City Fertility Law. Her expertise in this area is deeply personal. AshLeigh and her husband welcomed their daughter through IVF, but had to leave Alabama to access the care that they needed to start their family. As an attorney, AshLeigh helps individuals and couples navigate the legal complexities of assisted reproduction so that they can start and grow their families too. She believes no Alabamian should have to leave home to start a family. Let's welcome AshLeigh Dunham to our show.
Okay, AshLeigh, welcome in. We're happy to have you. What headline has made you pretty furious this week?
Thank you for having me. I would say everything dealing with the Supreme Court gaslighting us and telling us they were not going to overturn Milligan and then sending it back down here and allowing our court system to be in complete chaos and our legislative body to be in complete chaos. And now here we are with the possibility of having 3 different election days.
Which is nuts.
That's crazy. First of all, yeah, as a as a very proud and privileged Illinois resident right now, I just want to say I'm so sorry. So what does this mean, like, practically for the people of Alabama right now? So there's May 19th coming up, but then what is happening after that?
So right now, things are a little crazy, to be honest with you, because from what I understand, there are lawsuits that are brewing in Alabama to stop this. However, let's just say everybody's corrupt and we're just going into the worst case scenario. Everything's on fire. We are looking at all of our politicians trying to turn the entire state red. And that means that every single district in the state of Alabama is up for grabs. Like right now, they're just looking at District 2, which is where Shamari Figures is. And so Terry Sewell, she's still safe currently, but we don't know what the future holds at this point. I mean, they are actively saying the quiet stuff out loud, and they're saying, let's turn it red. Let's make everything red. So that means, the 40 to 45% of Alabamians who actually vote and vote blue are going to be without a voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that when people think about the Deep South, they think ruby red. We're really Republican. But if you were to take a map of the South, if you were to take a map of the United States, and you were to just darken the areas where there are more Black people present, right? So you would that map around the South would be concentrated and darker, right? Like there are more Black people in the South than basically anywhere else in the United States. We have a concentration of Black people here. And in Alabama, it's about 28% of our state is Black. And so I think when people say things like, well, we shouldn't district based on race, I think it's really important to understand that when you've got almost 30% of the population that's of a different race and they're not being represented based on the way that the maps were drawn, then that's a real problem. Their voice is not being heard in the way that they're being represented. What do you say to people who say we shouldn't consider race when we district people?
My favorite thing to say back is, well, yes, we shouldn't, but they did. So here we are. I mean, yes, we shouldn't.
Yes, we wish we didn't have to consider race. We wish you weren't racist. That would be the first step.
I wish that I had $1 million every single day, but alas, we are here and things are not great. It's so
very
funny
true.
I keep getting those same, the gaslighting from the other side. You didn't lose anything. We shouldn't use race, but there wasn't a time period. The Reconstruction era amendments didn't have a time period where it's like, oh, we spent hundreds of years treating you like you were subhuman, and now everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, nearly 40% of the state votes Democrat. So when you look at how things are how the districts are drawn, there's no way for a Democrat to win those districts, despite the fact that 40% of our state votes that way, of the people who vote that way. So I think there's just, it seems like common sense that you have to consider these factors, both race and party, when determining how to draw lines for representation. But As you said, alas, everyone is, everyone, I don't know.
You guys know that gif that's like of the woman trying to do math, like, and she's just like seeing a bunch of different numbers. That's exactly how I feel about Alabama politics, because like when you say to me that 40% of your state votes blue, that is an enormous shock to me.
Right?
I would have never guessed that that many people vote blue. And also that tells me like what kind of shit y'all got going down, because if 40, like the math ain't mathin'. I'm like, if 40% of you are voting blue and no one is representing as a Democrat, like what's happening here? So I find that really interesting. To kind of be selfish for a moment, AshLeigh, if I may, um, for people who are in other states, for people who are maybe in more blue areas, more blue states, I'm in, as I said, in Illinois. What can we maybe expect moving forward after something like this is happening? After what we've seen happen in Tennessee, in Mississippi, and Alabama, what do you think that's kind of the primer for other more liberal states?
I'll be honest with you. I have gone down this rabbit hole trying to figure out what's coming next. And in Alabama, you were looking at 2 representatives from our state in Congress. So they stripped those away. You're losing 2 votes to help all of your states that would be voting along with your state. You are looking in Tennessee, 1 representative who's gone. You're looking in Florida, the possibility, even though they actually had an amendment that said they're not allowed to gerrymander. But again, they're just going to do it. I told somebody earlier that I just wish, because people say, if it's not constitutional, how did they do it? And I was like, well, I wish there was like a genie that would pop up and be like, that's unconstitutional. You can't do this. But that's what the courts are for. That's what the courts are supposed to jump up and down about and say, hey, you're violating constitutional rights. And the problem is that you have to sue to do that. And now the Supreme Court has said, it's not us. Don't do that. So now we're looking at them trying to dilute what good your state is doing. So people should care. They should care that they're turning us all red when we're 40% blue. They should care that Tennessee got split up into 3 different districts and everybody who was a Democrat got kicked off of all their subcommittees. They should care about all of these different things, because now we're looking at diluting your voting power.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I love that.
Well, one of the things that I think about too, and I kind of said this in a video that I made online yesterday or the day before, I don't know, is that if they're willing to do this to people of color, in the same vein, we've been seeing online a lot of commentary about getting rid of the 19th Amendment. Christian nationalism, white supremacy, they are hand in hand right now. And there's a lot of commentary about making it such that women can't vote. That's what they want. That's what they believe. They think one household, one vote. The man should be the head of the household and he should vote. What do you make of these 2 things happening at the same time?
I'll be honest with you, that's the rabbit hole I was talking about. So I have been going down this rabbit hole of, I keep getting comments on my videos, especially on YouTube. And YouTube is not one of those places that you usually get comments like this that are saying the first 10 amendments are the only ones that are constitutional. Everything after that is unconstitutional. And you see that. And then, I was like, oh, this guy's crazy. But then you start seeing our representatives coming out loud and saying that, like Nathaniel Ledbetter, who said we should really get rid of the 14th Amendment. And then you're hearing all these different, we should get rid of the 15th.
What?
Yeah. The other day, he said it at a press conference. We should get rid of the 14th Amendment.
Oh my God.
Okay.
These people are wowzers. Just
Well, and I started
wowzers.
doing some research, and you're looking at the Clarence Thomas in the Dobbs decision mentioned the 14th Amendment. He mentioned this movement from the far right that is moving to get rid of contraceptives, get rid of your right to privacy. Everybody wonder why these data centers are popping up everywhere. There's videos, like video recorders everywhere to watch what you're doing, to get rid of your right to marry across racial lines, your right to get married as an LGBTQ person, your right to, there's just, it just goes on and on and on. There are these rights that come from the 14th Amendment that are outlined that we have used for years. And then you look at the 17th Amendment, and the 17th Amendment, which nobody even talks about, is the
I was going to
amendment.
say, what is the 17th Amendment?
I know I'm
I don't
nerding
know.
out on you. I'm sorry.
No, we love it. That's why you're
So
here.
the 17th actually talks about giving people the right to vote for their representatives and not the government. So years and years and years ago, we didn't vote on our senators. We didn't get to vote. So now it's the 17th Amendment would go away. The 19th for women to be able to vote. So this is gaining traction, and it's pretty terrifying. And when I say that they were trying to dilute the power in the government, that's because in order to get those amendments gone, you have to do a constitutional amendment to have, enough people who will vote to do that.
It's so wild to me, like the amount of people who are willing to carry water for folks who wouldn't spit on them if they were on fire.
Yeah,
Like I'll
especially
never
women.
I'll never understand Republicans in this moment because the least powerful congressperson from Alabama, right? The least powerful one, his proximity to power is not guaranteed. So he's giving over his power, I guess, to Trump and this administration and the Peter Thiels of the world with no guarantee that he'll actually be safe. And then what happens? Like, what happens
Yeah.
to these Republicans who refuse to stand up and say, this is not the party that I thought this was? We are no longer talking about policy. We're talking about fundamentally changing the structure of our society. We are fundamentally talking about moving so far backwards that all of us are like incapable of comprehending it. And it is terrifying to me. But this is also why it's so important that we vote on our judges, which is why you are running for the Supreme Court justice. Talk a little bit about like how if we had the right people on these benches, we might be able to stop things like this.
So first of all, we should have never have allowed them to delay appointing the Supreme Court justice because we ended up in a situation like this because we have people who are beholden, and I don't even know what's going on over there, but beholden to this administration and doing terrible, terrible things. So that's a huge issue. And I think that having that happen is what has brought so much so much to the forefront of everybody's just knowledge of the court to a degree. But in reality, like in the state courts, people don't realize that we elect judges. In Georgia right now, they're finally getting some attention because they have, they're nonpartisan, but they have a lot of people who are running that are running on protecting rights. And it's getting a lot of attention nationally. But the state courts do so much. And so that's why, they stopped IVF in our state for an entire 5 days. And they make decisions like the one that about the Constitution, where we had a constitutional amendment that said we are not allowed to change our election laws within 6 months of an election. That's going to go before our Supreme Court. Those things are very, very important on a state level. And what happens in Alabama doesn't just stay in Alabama. Like what happened in Louisiana with the Miffy case, with the Miffy Prestone, you saw everybody thought, oh, that's just impacting Louisiana. No, because that activist judge that sits in Louisiana, he already tried to do this one time with another case where he changed what they could use it for. And now he's entered this injunction on a federal agency. So now you're looking at the entire nation cannot receive, well, could not until they enter that stay, but could not use telemedicine to get medicine. So they have to actually go
Yeah.
into the clinics. So what we're seeing over and over again are how important the state courts are. And our state court, there are some jurisdictions, like I think Delaware, you cannot have a supermajority of either side. So in Alabama, our Supreme Court is all red. There is not one single Democrat. And for a state that has 40% Democratic, you would think that we would say, hey, you have to at least have 3 to 4 Democratic justices. But no, because it's statewide and they suppress votes.
That really is so wild to me that they just don't allow that for, or they don't utilize the same kind of structure as say Delaware does.
Well,
I'm
what's
learning
wild to
something
me
new
is
all the
that
time.
judges shouldn't be partisan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
I'll
look at
never
the law.
understand judges, mayors, hell, even governors, like people who are in more administrative or in your case, like constitutional spaces, like why anyway, but a judge specifically, like
Yeah,
upholding the
that's crazy.
law, it should not be
Yeah.
partisan.
Yeah, that's wild. I
No.
have to imagine, Ashley, that you encounter and maybe through your campaigning so far have encountered a lot of women who are, Mallory was speaking earlier to people who are willing to sort of like stand up for these these people who would not do the same for them. I think what we're seeing right now in America is this insane coalition of women who are willing to kind of like stand up for the patriarchy when and carry water for the patriarchy when it does nothing to really benefit them, except having maybe that proximity to power. How has that been for you to encounter like women like that in the South? Because I have to imagine that there's like a healthy amount, question mark, of them in Alabama. I don't know. I did go to school there for 4 years, so I'm just taking what I know from that time. So, what's that been like?
It is incredibly frustrating, to be honest with you. I have a friend's mom who comments on a lot of my posts where she's like all in for the Save Act. And I'm just sitting there arguing with her, and I like wrote an article about it and sent it to her. And I was like, you've got to pay attention. You've got to. She's like, no, no, no. And then, shortly thereafter, she's asking about trying to help somebody go get like a notarized document done and how impossible it is to get certain documents. And I'm just like, "Hmm." So every single day is it's so frustrating. Because you really think about how far so many women have come. On a
Hmm.
happier note, I will say that when I call my, 70-year-old ladies and I talk to them on the phone about my election and what's going on, it is so heartwarming to hear these ladies say, well, I fought for you not to have to fight this fight. And I hate that you're having
Mm.
to do it. And I want to make sure that you get elected because I don't want your daughter to have to fight this fight anymore. So I get
Yeah.
both sides. I get both
Yeah.
sides. And
Yeah.
honestly, it is more frustrating going into places where I get told, well, nobody cares about women's health care. Nobody cares about children. You need to focus on something else. And it is so infuriating to hear that because our Alabama values are supposed to be about protecting families
Yeah.
and not hurting them. And right now, working families in Alabama are in a lot of pain.
One of the most interesting things to me when I was running, and I can imagine you probably hear it too, is people say things like, you shouldn't be talking so much about reproductive rights. It's not a winning topic in Alabama. People in Alabama don't want to hear about reproductive rights. They don't want to hear about IVF or abortion or whatever it might be. And I would just counter that and say Maryland Lands won in a special election in northern Alabama talking specifically about her abortion, her need for one, her need for her own reproductive care. And I know you've done some work with Maryland trying to, introduce some things to the state legislature. Talk a little bit about the IVF of it all and what that landscape looks like, not just in Alabama, but you recently spoke at Harvard. What does this all mean for the country?
So, the IVF decision came down, and what they decided was this law in 1872 should apply now, that the Wrongful Death of a Minor Act should apply to an embryo. And that then led to all the clinics closing down because they were like, wait a minute, if we accidentally drop an embryo, we kill a child. We can't do this. So the clinics justifiably freaked out. And at that point in time, the legislature acted because about 500 women marched down to the legislature and started talking to everybody and demanding that they do something about it. So they passed a law within like 3 days that said that you cannot be held civilly or criminally liable, which means they can't sue you or arrest you for anything that happens when you're receiving medical treatment or if you are a producer of goods and services of that IVF medical treatment. So what that means is that all of these people who are going through IVF, all these people who, like, if they drop an embryo, they give it in the wrong solution. Now, the families who have spent 25 to 45 to $100,000 to create their embryo, they have no cause of action. Not only that, the law is unconstitutional, and nobody talks about that. Because if you talk to, like, Susan DuBose, I talked to her about this, and she said, "Oh, we fixed that." They all keep saying that. We fixed that in record time. It's not a problem. Well, January 2025, IVF was still at risk because the same people who were suing originally, they then asked to hold the law as unconstitutional because it violated the Constitution and to basically allow them to move forward with their case. But they reached a settlement. So now IVF is one court case away from going away again.
So essentially, it just takes one more family having that experience and bringing this all up again.
Right.
Exactly.
And so what does that mean, like, from a national perspective? How can that impact people in other states potentially?
Well, this fetal personhood movement, which is what they did, is they gave this little embryo the same rights as you and me. That movement is coming for everybody. I mean, it is. They sent it to Texas. Texas was going to rule on it right after, and then Texas said, no, we're not going to do it because they saw the fallout in Alabama. And they've tried it in a couple of other states. I think they keep trying to do it in South Carolina and North Carolina. They keep pushing for this fetal personhood movement to control women from the moment of conception. So if you noticed, the website that just dropped from the White House yesterday, like, it talks a little bit about fertility treatment, but does not really talk about IVF because they keep saying they're going to protect IVF. They're not going to protect it because they know that if you allow these embryos to have personhood status, it's going to directly impact abortion rights. And the reason why they're doing that is they did it in Italy before. They made it in Italy so that you could only fertilize up to 3 embryos at a time. And if all 3 became embryos, then you had to transfer all 3. So what happened is that over the years, and you could only do 3 at a time. So what happened over the years is that some women who couldn't get pregnant just never got pregnant. And the women who could ended up with multiples. And it was more dangerous on the mother and the child. So after 10 years, they declared it unconstitutional. But how many women were denied the ability to become a mother in that time period?
Wow.
That is
But also,
crazy.
I mean,
Oh
the
my
fetal
God.
personhood situation and all of that, like, one of the things that Maggie and I talk about all the time, it baffles me, and I said what I said. If you're a Maha mommy and you don't vaccinate your child for the measles, you don't give them vitamin K, like, and your child dies, they're like, well, that was just their choice. That's the
Whoopsie
type of
daisy.
healthcare
Yeah.
they wanted. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, you're trying to be a parent. You go in, you want to do IVF. Now you do have these embryos. If something happens to them, you're a murderer. Like, be so for real. I just
Yeah.
can't.
And then, I mean,
know.
it obviously just removes of course, removes any male responsibility from this equation, even though there has to be a male part to this equation. Like, that's what baffles me about the fetal personhood laws is that it will never matter to a man what those laws look like, because it's only ever going to attack the woman and her bodily autonomy and her decision-making process. So I find that incredibly fascinating. When we talk about, like, these women who will, like, just, carry water for the patriarchy and they, like, love Trump and this whole administration, do you think that there is really a way to break through to these people? Have you experienced that in your campaigning so far? And what has that looked like?
So the way that I see it is when you go and talk to these women and you talk to them about their actual values and you talk to them about, I mean, even my story of me finally getting my daughter, and I keep seeing women coming from the other side saying, I will do everything I can to protect my daughter. Because if you think about it, in Alabama, when it comes to our abortion statute, you can only get an abortion if your life is at risk. So if you're a 12-year-old little girl and you get assaulted in some way, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Even if having that baby would forever change your life and could possibly kill you. I mean, it's awful. So I think when women, they don't think about that, but they also don't think about the fact that, the whole thing that happened with Amber Thurman in Georgia, where she was kept on life support, we still have that in our law in Alabama. And it may not have gotten traction before, or maybe a hospital hasn't held someone, to that same standard as the hospital in Georgia did. But in Alabama, we have no choices after you get pregnant. Like if you are put on life support, they're keeping you on life support. So those things that shock the conscience for people, when you start having honest conversations with real women, even if they are carrying the water for the patriarchy, when they have daughters and sisters and they know someone and it's not just theoretical to them, then they start caring. And that's why it's very important to have those hard conversations. Because I do fertility law, so I have to have them on a daily basis. And I have to talk to people who, want to be surrogates. And even the most pro-life surrogate, when I talk to her about, well, these people have been trying to have a baby, or they've had multiple stillbirths, if they find out that there's a fetal anomaly that is not compatible with life, would you be okay with a termination? Every time these pro-life surrogates would say yes. If I say, if you get pregnant and the embryo splits and one baby is taking just enough nutrients so the other two babies are failing, and we have to figure out what to do, we have to terminate that one pregnancy to save two babies, are you okay with it? Every time they say yes. So it's having the hard conversations with the ladies who sit next to you at tea parties, at church, at a baseball game, at a football game, saying, hey, have you thought about this? And when you open their eyes, sometimes it makes a huge difference. And I've noticed that a lot talking to people who genuinely do care about other people. Then there's some that you're just not going to get. There are some that you're not going to get.
Totally.
But,
Yeah.
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 I think the thing that, I've had that same experience, right? Like where you actually sit down face to face with someone and you have a lengthy conversation and you if them to death. They will eventually concede that, yeah, in that scenario, it would be okay. And I'm like, great, you're pro-choice. Like, like
Congratulations.
trying to help them understand that any scenario, if you can come to any scenario where an abortion, however you get there, is necessary, then you have to be pro-choice. You have to be pro women being able to make decisions for their body, because otherwise you end up in situations like we're in right now. However, it is incredibly frustrating to have to if-then someone to death instead of just saying, mind your own damn business. Like, if you would just mind your business, then it'd be okay. You don't have to get an abortion. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. Leave the rest of us out of it.
It really is so bizarre, like the fascination with other people's body parts. Like I really do find this to be like such an intriguing part of the right. Like they love talking about other people's body parts, especially women's. Like it is, and that goes for any type of woman, trans women, straight women, like whoever. They just love thinking about it and talking about it. And I'm like,
bizarre.
Y'all need a hobby. Like this is crazy.
Every time when they start asking me those culture questions, those, hey, why, what about trans this, trans that? And I'm like, why are you so focused on people's genitals? Like, I'm just done with it.
We need to bring back, we need to
like,
bring back Tim Wolves. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. And people need
It
to
is
feel
weird.
shame for that. Like,
Well, it's the boys and girls sports, this like hyperfixation on we have to protect girls sports. And I'm like, wait a minute. When I was in school, when girls wanted to play the boys sports, like it was seen as like, yes, go girls, like you get out there and play football. And so now, are you trying to tell me that if my daughter goes to play football or if a little boy wants to join her cheerleading team or he wants to join her dance class, that somehow she is less than him? Because let me tell you, that is not what's destroying women's sports. What's destroying women's sports is the fact that they focus so high on men's sports and treat it as if women aren't as good athletes.
I mean, just also everything. But I'm curious before we let you go. I as noted have run for office in Alabama. I want to hear best and worst. What's the best part of running for office, and where can people find you? And then what's maybe one of the most challenging parts of running for office?
I think the best part is actually like going and talking to people. I am a huge extrovert. So I love going and teaching people about, the courts. Every single time I ask people, do you know what impact litigation is? And the whole room just goes blank. And then I have to explain to them, like, it's where a court makes a decision and it impacts everyone, everybody in the state, in the nation. Think about like the Roe versus Wade, where they give women the ability to have control over their bodies, and then Dobbs, where they take it away. Think about Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. And then think about Brown versus Board of Education, where it's that wasn't truly equal. Think about Calais. Think about Loving v. Virginia, the ability to marry across racial lines, or Obergefell applying marriage equality to everyone. And so then everybody just kind of, and they start understanding impact litigation, and they think, oh yeah, the courts do matter. So like that's really fun, is seeing that light switch behind everybody's eyes. And then you can follow me on everything as AshLeigh for Alabama, and it's AshLeigh for Alabama. Everybody else says that's a beautiful way to spell your name. I was a baby, I didn't get to choose that. And so if I had, I would have chosen a different name, because I could have at least had keychains with my name on it. But alas.
Just so you know, Mallory was never on a keychain either.
It was always Margaret, but not Maggie on a keychain.
No Maggie for you.
Just to clarify.
Well, now we've changed that, because we can actually make our own things now, so that's great. But
true.
the worst thing I would say is battling the bots, where
No,
you feel
stop. The worst part is the money. It's your
So
chance to
I
tell
would
people to
say-
donate to your campaign.
Exactly. It is. So I would say the absolute worst part is that I, as a judicial candidate, I can never ask for any money. So when
That
I
is
do
crazy.
I know, because here's what they say, well, I guess the theory behind it is that people are buying votes on the court if they donate. Meanwhile, our Supreme Court is run by people who have donations from insurance companies and corporations.
I was going to say, isn't that how our entire government works?
Well, also every
Aren't all of the
accusation
votes
is
bought?
a projection, right? So
Yeah.
Exactly. And in Georgia, they can ask for money. So I just did a TikTok live with a girl running for court of appeals in Georgia. They don't have civil and criminal, so there's court of appeals. So I was talking to her, and she was like, that's crazy. We get to ask for money. And so she asked for money for me. And so it is crazy, because I have the same expenses as other statewide candidates. I have the same expenses. Like, I have to run a statewide campaign, and gas is $5. $5 a gallon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody,
so can
this
Mallory
is your
and I
opportunity.
ask for you?
Yes. Yes.
Donate to AshLeigh's campaign.
Yes, please. You can find her at AshLeigh for Alabama, or you can go to ashleighDunhamforalabama.com and donate.
And all of her information will be in our show notes as well.
For sure. AshLeigh, thanks for joining us.
Thank y'all.